All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to our latest explainer, where we're going to totally demystify the absolute core foundation of your computer. We are tackling IT 1200, Chapter 3, on the motherboard. You know, if you've ever popped open a computer case, stared into that overwhelming maze of circuits, chips, and wires and just thought, nope, well, you are in exactly the right place. Picture this. You hit the power button, the fans spin up, but your screen stays completely, totally black. So what's happening? Is the monitor dead? Is your graphics card totally fried? Or is the motherboard simply trying to tell you that a stick of RAM is just slightly loose? Hooking into this kind of practical, everyday technician reasoning is exactly what we're going to master today. Because before we jump to incredibly expensive conclusions, we need to know how to map out the solution. So here is our roadmap for today's diagnostic tour. We're going to start with a welcome to the motherboard, then it will meet the CPU. After that, we'll cover safe installation and cooling, explore expansion and security, break down the different types and upgrades, and wrap it all up by troubleshooting like a pro. Okay, part 1. Welcome to the motherboard. Let's start with our first big picture macro view of the computer's internal workings. A motherboard is literally exactly what it sounds like, the mother of all boards in your system. It's the main circuit board connecting almost every single internal component. I always like to think of it as a complex, bustling city grid. In this scenario, your CPU, your memory, your storage drives, those are the buildings. And the motherboard, it provides the vital roads and highways that connect them, making sure all that data travels exactly where it needs to go when it needs to go there. Looking at a standard ATX layout, you can really see that city grid in action. Right up there in the upper middle, you've got the CPU socket. That's the prime real estate where the processor lives. Over to the right, you'll spot the DIMM slots for your RAM. And down below, you've got your PCIe slots for expansion cards, like a beefy graphics card, plus the SATA ports for your storage drives. Oh, and here is a massive technician caution for you. Never, ever mistakenly call the computer case the motherboard. The case is just the metal box. The motherboard is the beautiful circuitry inside that actually does the connecting. Moving right along to section 2. Meet the CPU. Let's zoom in from that macro city grid right down to the absolute busiest, most critical intersection on the board. This central processing unit, or CPU. This is the engine, the brain. When you launch an app or load up a massive web page, the CPU is the thing handling the heavy lifting. But how do we actually measure its performance? Well, we look at a few key things. First is clock speed, measured in gigahertz. That basically tells us how many processing cycles the CPU can attempt in a single second. Then you have cores, which are actual physical processing units inside the chip. More cores, better multitasking. Threads are logical work paths to manage tasks efficiently. And finally, cache. Cache is this incredibly fast temporary memory built right into the CPU. Now, big warning here. Do not fall into the trap of judging a processor solely by its gigahertz clock speed. A newer CPU with a smarter architecture and more cores will absolutely destroy an older CPU with a higher clock speed. Now, what's really fascinating here is how data actually moves. To speed things up, processors use a very specific memory hierarchy, flowing data from the fastest, smallest memory down to the slowest, largest storage. Level 1 cache is tiny, but it is lightning fast, sitting right inside the CPU core. If the data isn't there, it checks the slightly larger L2 cache, then the shared L3 cache, then it goes all the way out to your main RAM, and finally, down to your slow storage drives like an SSD or a hard drive. It's all about reducing wait times. The closer the data is to the core, the less time the processor wastes just sitting around waiting for it.
All right, section 3, safe installation and cooling. We know what the CPU does, but now we need to talk about the physical realities of seating these incredibly delicate parts onto our grid, and why keeping them cool is absolutely non-negotiable.
The CPU connects to the motherboard through a specific socket, and there are 3 main flavors you need to recognize. First up is LGA, or Land Grid Array, super common in modern desktops. This means the delicate little pins are actually inside the motherboard socket and the CPU just has flat contact pads. Second is PGA, Pin Grid Array. Here, the pins are on the processor itself, and they drop down into little holes in the socket. And finally, BGA, Ball Grid Array. This means the CPU is permanently soldered right onto the board. You'll see this all the time in laptops. But whatever you do as a technician, hear me on this. Never force a processor into a socket. If you have to push, something is wrong, and you're literally seconds away from bending pins and ruining your day. Processors generate a massive amount of heat, like burn your finger hot. If you don't aggressively remove that heat, the system is going to throttle its performance, shut down randomly, or just outright break. So here's the foolproof sequence for installing a cooling solution. Step 1, clean the surface of the CPU and cooler if you're reusing parts. Step 2, Apply a small pea-sized dot of thermal paste, just a dot. Too much squishes out and makes a mess, too little leaves air gaps. Step 3, mount the heatsink evenly to ensure perfectly flat contact. And step 4, connect the fan. In practice, it goes exactly like this. You gently drop the CPU in, lock down the retention arm, apply that tiny dot of thermal paste, secure the heatsink down evenly, and then plug that fan cable right into the CPU fan header on the motherboard. I honestly cannot stress this enough. Forgetting to plug in that little fan cable or going wild with the thermal paste is a one-way ticket to melted hardware town. Double check your work, always. Okay, section 4, expansion and security. Let's pan back out from the CPU and take a look at the suburbs of our city grid. How do we actually add new capabilities and, more importantly, keep it all secure? We add those capabilities using expansion slots. The modern standard you absolutely have to know is PCIe, which stands for Peripheral Component Interconnect Express. And as you can tell, they come in different physical sizes. That tiny slot at the top, that's a PCIe X1, which is perfect for a basic Wi-Fi card or maybe adding some extra USB ports. As the slots get longer, X4, X8, they handle way more data lanes. And that massive PCIe X16 slot at the bottom, that is your high bandwidth VIP lane, almost always reserved for heavy-hitting dedicated graphics card. But motherboards aren't just about plugging things in. They handle fundamental security way before Windows or Linux even starts booting up. The two big built-in hardware security features to keep on your radar are TPM and Secure Boot. TPM, or Trusted Platform Module, is the chip or firmware feature that locks down encryption keys and system trust. Secure Boot does exactly what it says on the tin. It stops unauthorized or malicious software from hijacking your system during startup. As a technician, never disable these unless you have a documented, specific reason to do so, or you might just accidentally lock yourself out of an encrypted drive. Section 5, types and upgrades. So what happens when it's time to rip out the foundation and upgrade the entire board? Let's talk about choosing the right hardware so you don't lose your mind during a rebuild. Motherboards are definitely not one size fits all. They come in different physical dimensions called form factors. On the left, we've got the standard ATX. It's a big, full-size board with tons of RAM slots and PCI expansion room, perfect for high-performance desktop rigs. In the middle is micro ATX, slightly smaller, offering a really great mid-range balance of size and features. And on the far right, mini ITX. This thing is incredibly compact, usually only rocking 2 RAM slots and a single PCI slot, making it the go-to for tiny, space-saving builds. Keep in mind, though, the physical size completely dictates your expansion limits and what kind of case you can actually fit it into. Which means, if you're upgrading, you can't just buy a board because it has cool RGB lighting. You have to meticulously verify compatibility. First, verify the form factor actually fits inside your case. Next, confirm the CPU socket physically matches your processor. But wait, that's not enough. You also have to make sure the chipset in the BIOS actually support that specific generation of CPU. And finally, double-check that the memory support matches your RAM's type and speed. Oh, and pro tip, before you unplug a single cable to do a replacement, take photos of everything. Document exactly where those tiny front panel cables go. Future you will be so thankful. And finally, Section 6, troubleshooting like a pro. This is the fun part. Let's take all this theory, head into the mechanic's garage, and logically diagnose some real-world problems. Troubleshooting a motherboard requires patience because, honestly, some really terrifying symptoms have incredibly simple fixes. If you get no boot at all, no beep, nothing, first check the power cables and make sure your RAM is actually clicked in all the way. If the fans spin up like a jet engine but you have no display, don't throw the graphics card in the trash just yet. Check the monitor cable, check the input source on the monitor, and make sure the GPU is seated properly in that X16 slot. Dealing with sudden shutdowns? Check the CPU fan, monitor your thermal temps, and blow out the dust. So, the absolute crucial point here is this. Always start with observation. Don't jump to expensive conclusions. Never replace a CPU or a motherboard before you've checked for a loose connection. Which brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with in this explainer. Before you panic buy a $400 CPU, did you actually check if the power table was plugged in? Did you make sure the RAM actually clicked when you pushed it down? Thinking like a pro means mastering the layout of that motherboard city grid, understanding how the components talk to each other, and always checking the simplest solution first. Keep that diagnostic reasoning sharp. Because the best technicians aren't necessarily the ones who know everything, they're the ones who know exactly where to start looking. See you in the next explainer.